My name is Daniel Levy. I've been director of villages.io since 2014. We've been online since 2009. And villages.io is a web platform for creating your own decentralized credit network, so based on trust. So first, I just want to share a little bit about history of money. So I have here, debt is the oldest money. The oldest recording of written language is our financial transactions. Here we have some 20,000-year-old Ishago bones, that people use to track financial transactions. Sure, people have always been trading items, but as soon as those checks and balances that go along with trading get beyond the scope of what you can store in your mind, you have to write it down. And people carving it on bone, carving it in stone, that's the traditional way. So I have here also some, these bula are an ancient Iraqi multi-party recording. You have 3 stones, the receiver, the debtor, the one that is using the money, and a third party. So each of them has a stone with the recording. And once you come back together, you can confirm that, yes, you do owe me however much it is. So this is an ancient Sumerian stone. Again, the oldest form of money is people's just saying, hey, I owe you however many oxen. Let's carve it into stone so that we know, so that's confirmed. I owe you 6 ox. So when you come back in a year from now, we're good. So people have always been trading stones, always been trading art and other forms of trade. In order to scale trade, you need to write it down. That's how writing started. The earliest forms of writing are all transactions. So of course, money's evolved. Nowadays, we have paper money, we have credit cards, loans, PayPal, all kinds of different instruments for exchanging credit and debits, but still it's ultimately the same thing. When you go and get a loan at a bank, that money is being created for you to use, and when it's returned, that money is essentially destroyed. So money's created as debt. That's core to what money is, and money will probably always exist like that. Some form of debt money, some form of IOUs, promises. A promise will always work as a form of payment. So, and money is based on trust. In order to have an IOU, to create a debt, you have to trust the person issuing it. Over the years, we have had issues with centrally issued money. I have an example here of a Zimbabwe $20 billion note. That's an example of an economy that was poorly managed. Just kept printing more, thinking, oh, more money we print, the more money we have. Not really, it just kind of devalues the rest of the money. And I have also a graph here showing our monetary supply in the United States. And as you can see, it was all pretty stable growth up until 2020, until we had the COVID crisis. And you see that, from the 1960s, it was very, stable inflation, but then you had this super jump. That scares a lot of people. That scares me. That scares a lot of people. This year, I think we had 8% inflation rate. And, are we at risk to hyperinflation? I certainly hope not. But these are real, possibilities. Yeah, this is our life savings. This is our children, our that we want to look after. We want to have a money that's secure and that we can depend on, that we trust, and we trust the issuers. So nowadays we have other trustless forms of, I put money in quotes here because people would argue the validity of calling, Bitcoin or gold or silver, things like this. Money, I think of them more as commodities. Bitcoin is very interesting. It doesn't require as much trust as traditional financial systems, and can be used peer-to-peer. Very cool. Very similar to gold. You can just exchange it. It has value in itself. But to call these things money is kind of a misstatement. Really, they're more of a store of value, something that people can, people don't tend to use stores of value as money. They don't spend gold. They don't spend Bitcoin. People save those things. Like people that have Bitcoin, they save them. They stash them away. They don't spend them. But we need something that we can spend. So yeah, these technologies are great. Bitcoin is very cool. Something that could be potentially used as rails as the backbone for a secure money. But Bitcoin itself is not money. It's a store of value. Cool technology, not money in my view. Money is created by creating value. So the more value that we create, the more skills, the services that we have to offer. It's like, I want to create this cool project and I have the willingness to do that. That's what creates value, not scarcity. Money is something that is abundant, and it should be able to be created as needed for people that have value to share, right? If you have value to share, you're creating value, you should have access to money, basically. So in the Villages platform, we use a traditional mutual credit style of money. So mutual credit uses a zero-sum balance. So there's always zero is the total. So there's no interest. What that means is when the first transaction is an IOU, and that creates the money. So I have an example here. We have number one. I don't think you can see my mouse, but we have number one up at the very top. And that's showing that Sally is giving Etta 1 unit for like, I don't remember what I said, but maybe it was a tutoring or something, right? So Sally gives Etta 1. Sally then has -1, a debt of 1, and Etta has +1. So Sally keeps her -1, and Etta's going to go on and spend that 1 unit that she has. She's going to give it to Robert to help her with her computer. So now Etta's at 0, and Robert has that 1. Now Robert maybe goes over to John and needs help fixing his door. So he passes that 1 unit over to John. Now Robert is at 0, he's balanced, and John has that 1. Now John, after a hard day's work, he goes over to Sally's yoga class and gives that 1 unit back to Sally. Now both of them are left at 0. So that payment has made a full cycle, a circular economy. That payment's made a full cycle. Everybody's left at 0 balance. That's like where we want it. As soon as you integrate interest on these loans, you can't have a zero sum. It kind of creates a dependency on creating more debt. You have to create more money in order to pay back. There's a constant negative yield. You can never get back to 0. And that's how our financial system works. So Village is a little different. Keep it local, keep it within our own village, keep it within our own trust network. You decide who's in your trust network. And you are as an individual, you are the center of your trust network. Villages is a little different than traditional mutual credit systems in that every individual plays the role of a bank. We don't have a bank that you have to check in with, that you have to apply to. Every individual decides who is in their network. Nowadays, we have a super connected world with social networking. We all, some of us has thousands of friends. We don't need Visa to keep track of who has good credit. We can create our own lines of credit with our own community. We don't need a central bank to determine who's credit worthy. We know who's credit worthy amongst our friends. We know who we want to work with. We know who's good for their word. And by creating a financial network of our own, we don't have to rely on these centralized financial systems. We just create our own. So yeah, let's create our own financial network or our own money. Again, yeah, we don't have to rely on Visa. We can create our own financial networks and exchange value within our own networks. So on Villages, we chose not to use US dollars as our unit of account or unit of measurement. You can think of a unit of account as like looking at a ruler. You know, it's an inch on a ruler. That's what a unit account is. It's a measurement. Whether that measurement is dollars or Bitcoins or gold or jars of honey, quarts of honey, or eggs. I know there's one community in Washington that uses eggs as their unit of account. You know, you can use anything. We chose village hours because we believe that they are inflation resistant. A village hour is equal to a minimum sustainable hours wage in your community. So every community might have a different sustainable hours wage, but we find that it is a stable measure of value within our community. So 10 years ago, when we started Villages, a sustainable hours wage in my community was more like $12 or maybe $10. Now, a sustainable hours wage in our community is looking more like $20 an hour. So that, you know, our unit of account, our unit of measurement changes depending on inflation, depending on the current economic situation. So inflation resistant. Now members can negotiate a fair price for their products and services based on this base measurement. So this is not an equal hour where everyone's hour is equal, where it's like, oh, I trade you 1 hour of my time or 1 hour of your time. It's not necessarily like that. It's a sustainable hours wage for an unskilled worker. So again, that might be $20 here. It might be $30 on Oahu, right? Or I don't know what things are going for right now, but something like that, right? And you can negotiate your pay based on that. Like as a technical worker, as a software engineer, web developer, I get paid 3 to 4 village hours per hour for my time. A lawyer, a doctor, they can determine what they want to be paid. If you have a product that's $10, that might be half a village hour, or $30 would be 1.5. You can do fractional. It's all good. And you negotiate from there, just as you would with any other money, right? So some of the benefits of village hours are that they are abundant. It's not a scarce money like other things that could be used as money. Bitcoin, it's scarce. It's not produced here. Same with gold. It's not produced here. It's scarce. And that's one of the reasons why it's valuable. But people hoard it for that reason too. Village hours are an abundant money, easy to create. Anybody can create village hours anywhere in the world. Even if you're in a isolated community, middle of Africa. I mean, we're talking about Hawaii here. Let's say Puna, right? Maybe you're in Lower Puna. It's inclusive. Anybody can do it. You don't need an ID. You don't need a bank account to do it. You just need people who trust you. Empowers local communities, and there's no interest. Our platform, we're working to be a federated system, so anybody can host their own node of villages for their own community. Inflation resistant, as I said. We're an open source platform, so our code can be read by anybody, and anybody can contribute to our code. And we're actually a global community. We have over 300 members here in Hawaii, but we have over 1,500 members globally and other active communities around the world, including Italy, Canada, and in Asia. So I invite you all to sign up now and make money work for you at villages.io. And I invite your questions and comments.